I didn't really decide to be an artist till I was about 20. But then when I did decide, it was the only thing I can imagine doing. My earliest memories of living in the middle of Canada, I was a child that was 3, 4 years old. I drew and amused myself for hours and hours doing drawings, and I never really stopped. Drawing as a child was, of course, as a childlike activity. You don't really think about doing it for anyone, you're just doing it for yourself. I guess not much of that's changed. I mean, I do it much for myself, but the reasons are more adult, why I should be doing it. It's out of just the need to fulfill my own sense of purpose. I've used the Polaroid as source material for my painting, and I'm also working from found images out of books, out of old medical texts, out of course, the internet. I've heard the term, or come across the term as post-photography. That means that, not that photography is dead, but very much a very vital link to my process. Hello, good morning. Most times one is introduced to gallerists or introduced to collectors. It's a very kind of loose association of people in the art world. It's very small, the art world. In the international art world, it's a tight, this very small circle. And getting into the circle is very difficult, very difficult. But once you're in, once you have at least a gallery that you work with, a permanent gallery, that also becomes a platform for you. But to get into the art scene, for me, it took 16 years.
So when did you make the conscious decision to just, do charcoal drawings?
It happened, the charcoals, okay, I've always drawn. I was drawing the nude when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
I really spent a long time drawing. I started painting in art school, and I painted in oil for 20 years. And it was actually just, it was kind of a one-night gig kind of thing. I did decorations for a Halloween party in a bar. Mm-hmm. And I did these large Edgar Allan Poe scenes, and quite gruselige Bilder scenes, and with different kind of images. And I just got tremendous response from these works, and they were hanging in this old bar, and they just looked fantastic. It was such a great installation. And it was up for one night. It was a Halloween party. Took them all down, and I ended up selling most of them.
That's very
and
cool.
From then on, I love doing this charcoal. And the wonderful thing about charcoal is that you can go to infinity with black.
Yes.
It can be so black.
That's kind of what I mean, this black into infinity. In those shelves, you know, it's just black squares in them, but you know that there's depth in there. You can feel the spaces on those shelves. You can't see them, but you can feel them. You know that they're cubes, boxes. You know that it goes in there. You can fit something in there. You can pop your shoes in there. But it's just a black square. This particular series was exhibited here in my gallery, Andy Ilian, here in Zurich, June 2007. This work is not about the war. It's not about the foreign policy. I mean, we can go into that forever as well. It's about propaganda. It's about Western propaganda. It's about selling this war. It's about the methods that the media uses to sell this war to the American public. This is maybe the opposite side, opposite extreme of propaganda. This is really about the new media. When I mean that, I mean like the YouTube format, online, the guerrilla filmings. So it is from a still from a cell phone film of the execution of Saddam Hussein that was online on various different portals. Well, Halliburton, I guess that's pretty self-explanatory. Big American company profiting from war, profiting from death, profiting from the misery of millions of people. So it's execution powered by Halliburton. This is a good example of the color black, how black one can get with charcoal. Thematically and technically, this is not really what I mean by infinite black. For me, it's beyond the black. There, you lose the perspective. You can't see into it. It's just so black. There's nothing there. But I kind of wanted to achieve that you can't. There's no depth in it. There's only a few feet of depth instead of this infinity. That's very hard to achieve.
Treptower Park. I came here for the first time 4 years ago when I first came to Berlin. It's really a special place for me because I come from the West, from North America. You always hear the side of the victors. You never hear the other side. The communists were the arch enemy, you know. The Cold War find. All of my, upbringing as a kid, you know, with all James Bond and spies and the evil Russians, you know. The people were dehumanized. There was no people. There was no Russian. We knew that there was people here, but they were so dehumanized by the propaganda. And the DDR had their own propaganda, but we absolutely had ours as well. Fortunately, it's ended. It ended when the wall came down. There's other things to fight now. There is other propaganda out there now, still propagated by the West, by America in particular. The threat of terrorists and jihadists and this selling of fear. I don't agree with it, and I don't think it helps. I don't think it helps the society, and I don't think it'll help us reach any kind of agreement with the rest of the world. And it's important as an artist, in one's time as an artist, in your time to expose these things and to you know, I don't mean to be hammer people over the head with it, but I want people to think as well. You know, I like my work to be a bit subtle. There's something more or less subtle, but I want them to think. From this spot 4 years ago, I took a Polaroid. This statue is kind of a milestone for my career because it's one of the first large charcoals that I did after the Halloween series. I think it was actually the first one I did. The similarities between my work and Richter's is a very superficial one. It's I don't share his subject matter, process. I think maybe there are some parallels there with some of my mark-making techniques, some of the smudging that goes on, blurring that he's so famous for. But that's really where it ends. There are just some passages in my work that may be a bit similar, but I don't think of Richter. Francis Bacon used Polaroids as well. He never worked from life. He never had sitting models. That I really investigated Bacon when I was in art school, and I was really inspired by his process, his techniques, where he got his source material. My history coming from Vancouver as a painter in the 90s, where Vancouver was an utter conceptual school, and painting and drawing, anything handcraft was absolutely poo-pooed. It was absolutely so out of fashion. And I did it anyway. I painted and painted and painted years without any sales or recognition or anything. I just didn't stop. And I guess after so many years of being on the outside, I just didn't care anymore, and I just did what I wanted to do. So it's kind of like, without compromising my own thing, yeah. I found my way, but in a much stronger and more meaningful way once I finally broke into the scene.
Well, basically why I also like to take Trevor into the program is because alone of his history, he is a global player. And you can also sense that he has this connection between, you know, the more emotional and the technical side, and it's found in his work again. It's very technical, it's very, you know, and you can see that he went through a very long schooling, and he also does work with his subjects and the matter and the way he applies, you know, the charcoal, and he plays with it. And so it's not just producing art, it is also being honest to himself how he produces the art, and if it's good, and if he can basically step up to it and say, I stand behind this body of work. And that's kind of he has the connection between, he's like in the middle of the North America and Europe. He found that niche.
What's next? Well, I kind of thought about doing a series of still lives in the classical sense, with flowers and, you know, kind of making pretty pictures, but making them extremely dark, really low contrast, dark portraits of flowers and objects, just to be absolutely classical, just, but in a large format, like 2 meters by 2 meters, just with lots of black, really with that infinite black.